In this video, we'll be looking at the new standards-based gradebook on QuickSchools. This will be a step-by-step tutorial. We'll start with how to install the app, setting up standards, your library of standards essentially, setting up the gradebook in terms of grading scales and calculations for standards and the overall subject performance, and then how to create assessments and standards within the actual gradebook. And finally, how to run analysis. You'll start by clicking on App Store, which brings you our list of apps. And you can scroll and look through these. Best way is probably just to search. Let's search for standards. There's our standards-based gradebook. Click on that. Click Install App. Decide who needs to have access, so I'll turn it on for all school administrators. Install, and now we have SB Gradebook as well as standards appearing on your account. So before we dive into the standards-based gradebook, I usually like to start with standards. So from the standard screen, you can create your list of standards, your library of standards really. So we'll start with a name of your standard. So for example, first grade English. So you can have another set of standards, let's say second grade English. From here you want to click edit and start creating the actual standards within that standard set. So for example, I could do English .1.a, and this can be listens attentively in class. We'll add another one, let's say English.1.b participates in group discussions. Right, and let's just for fun, let's add a third one, English 1-C. Communicates effectively. Alright, so you can add as many standards as you want. You can even import them from an Excel file, and you just add this for all the various standards. From the grading setup screen, this is where you can set up the different ways of calculating the proficiency, the mastery levels for the students. So for example, in this case, you've got 3 levels: proficient, developing, and novice. Here you can decide how the final score is calculated, whether it's just the highest score, the newest score, average of all assessments, or you can weight them based on newest score and the next newest score. And this is how you can calculate the overall average for the subject based on mastery of the different standards. So now that we've created all the standards, we can go ahead and start using the standards-based gradebook. First of all, select a subject that you're teaching, and let's start with adding standards. So you can actually add standards right from the screen, but again, I prefer to add the standards in the library first, and then select which within those library that you want to add into that gradebook. So this can change from term to term. So I'm going to go ahead and add these 3 standards. I've got these 3 standards here. It only shows the code just to save space, but if you move your mouse over the column headers, you can see the actual description of the standard. So once you've selected the standards, the next step is to add an assessment. So for each assessment, you decide which standards are being assessed, as well as which students. Click Next. Once you've selected the students and the standards, you give the assessment a name. see assignment 1. The list of categories, this is customizable. It is optional, of course. Set a date. You can set up what the max score is for that particular assignment. I'll just leave it at 4. Then you'll just type in what the actual evaluations are for those students that you've selected. Alright, save that. And now we have our first list of assessments, our first assignment really, and the standards. Let's just add another one, another assessment. Let's say in this case we'll assess 1B and 1C. Next, assignment 2. I'll give everyone great scores for the first one, and let's say they're kind of weak in the second one. Save, and now you have 2 assessments, 3 standards, and you see how the students are performing in each of these standards, as well as in the subject itself. So here on the far end, this is the grade for the subject, and you can see by mousing over the cell how that calculation is done. So in this case, the overall percentage is based on how many standards have been mastered. In this case, since 2 standards were mastered over 3 standards, it's 66.7%. Now the thing about this screen, let's save this, is that all of these are clickable. So I see here 2, or let's look at this one, 3.8. Where does this 3.8 come from? If I click on that, I can see all the assignments and what they have scored. And I can also reassess these assignments if needed. And if I move my mouse over this score, I can again see how it come about this 3.8. And in this case, it's 75% of the most recent score, and 25% of the next most recent score. I can also click on the student names and to see how the student performs in all the various standards and assignments. The nice thing that you want to note here is this run analysis. And when you click on it, you can see these class averages, weaker standards, and ranking. So for class averages, I can select one of these mastery levels. So if I click on proficient, I can see all the students who are proficient in all the standards that are proficient. If I click on developing, I can see how many students are developing the standard, and I have here one student that has achieved mastery. And if I click novice, I see everyone who's still novice in this particular standard. So it's really a way to analyze how the student is doing in the various standards. If I click on weaker standards, I can see which standards need to be worked on. And if I click on class ranking, I can see which students are doing well based on mastery of the different standards.